welcome to Get Over It, the consciousness transforming podcast for exceptional 21st century living. We've got a great show today. We're going to have Radhule Weininger with us and Dr. Radhule Weininger with us, and she's talking about her book, Heart Medicine: How to Stop Painful Patterns and Find Peace and Freedom at Last. And folks, this isn't your usual, therapy book where you read it, you try a couple of things and you don't have success. This is a book where you read it, reads like a story. You ingest the information, you do the exercises, and it does work. Now, she doesn't promise it's going to work the first time out, because in order to affect change, we have to, be a bit repetitive and, truly commit to the change that we want to see in ourselves. But her work works. Okay. So if you're thinking about changing your life, you're in any type of pain, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, this is the book for you. Now, the information shared on Get Over It uses intuitive and pragmatic insight to help you shift your consciousness to break through the blocks and release energy that is no longer needed. Yes, we're going to help you let go of the BS that's holding you back. But you guys know I always ask that question: are you truly, truly ready to? And by the way, folks, BS is a belief system. A bit about me for my new listeners: intuitive since birth. I'm a third generation intuitive with over 3 decades of experience supporting people to break through the blocks along their path. I'm a strategist for personal and professional transformation, revealing cutting edge information that enables you to prosper and thrive. I spent 25 successful years in corporate America as an executive sales professional, and I'm the founder of Healing Visions Ministries and the Northern California Children's Education Network, a 501c3 nonprofit. I provide consultations and healings in all areas of life that heal the mind, body, spirit connection, allowing you to live your very best life. My clients tell me that I keep it real while providing them with accurate information to assist them along their journey as a spirit living a human existence. But they also say, if you really don't want to know, don't ask Monique. My background includes a doctorate in metaphysics, Reiki master teacher, ordained minister, and clinical hypnotherapist, so that whether you are stressed, depressed, or possessed, I can help. To find out more about me and the services I offer, go to my website, and that's moniquechapman.com. And I invite you to like me on Facebook and follow me on LinkedIn. If you like the podcast, please subscribe. We would love to have those subscriptions. And if you want to rate us, we can accept that too. My guest today, Dr. Radhule Weininger, is a clinical psychologist, psychotherapist, and meditation teacher. She leads weekly and monthly meditation groups in Santa Barbara and leads retreats in the United States and internationally. And she's here to talk about her book today, Heart Work: The Path of Self-Compassion. Well, no, she's also the author of that one, because we're going to talk about heart medicine. So go get them both. It's going to help you tremendously. Welcome, Radhule.
Hi.
Hi, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, it's great to hear what all you do. I like to sign up for a reading.
Oh, okay. Well, talk to me afterwards and we can get that done.
We
Your
will.
okay, your book, Heart Medicine: How to Stop Painful Patterns and Find Peace and Freedom at Last. Like as I said earlier, it's a very good book. How did you come, to write this book? It seems that so many therapists today are now embracing some form of spirituality.
Yeah, so in a way, these are two questions. The first one is maybe how I came to spirituality, which I
Mm-hmm.
actually came before I became a therapist. I studied medicine in Germany and I got really sick. It was in 1980. And I went then to Sri Lanka actually to study acupuncture. They had a good acupuncture program. And I ended up meeting this really ancient old monk who gave me this first amazing experience of what meditation is like. It
Mm-hmm.
was like meeting the divine, really. It was amazing. And so then I ended up in a monastery in Sri Lanka. And when I came home and finished medical school, I just stayed with meditation. I just felt it helped me so much and I needed it. So that's how that started. And then in Germany, 1980, it was a weird thing. It wasn't California. So it was actually hard to
Mm-hmm.
keep going because there wasn't any support or hardly any teachers. And then I came in 84, 85 to California, which was a mecca for me. Finally, I was normal with my meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my PhD in clinical psychology. But Jack Cornfield, you might know him, he's
Yeah.
a meditation teacher and actually also a psychologist. He, I got to know him. He became my mentor, and he helped me to bring psychology and meditation together.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we talked about these long-standing, recurrent, painful patterns. I call them LERPs.
Mm-hmm.
We get LERPed. And he really encouraged me to write this book. I think for years we talked about it, and he said, because I have myself my share of LERPs, and so he said, why don't you write about what you learned? Bringing the psychological and the spiritual together, because we need all hands on deck. Is that the
Mm-hmm.
right idiom? Right.
That's the right one. Yes.
Yes. And so to work with these old wounds in our psyche. So that's how that came about by him. Maybe we talked for the last 10, 15 years about this,
Mm-hmm.
maybe at least. And so, yeah, I have to be grateful to him for nudging me a little bit.
No, I'm glad that he nudged you. Now, explain to people a little closer what a LERP is and how to recognize one.
Yeah, a LERP, a long-standing, recurrent, painful pattern, is basically a knot in the psyche. One of those wounds that are quite old. Freud and Jung called them complexes. So you
Mm-hmm.
might know that from this literature or from, the word is used in common language. And they are basically knots that have emotions, thoughts, repetitive thoughts, um, body feelings, in them, images, archetypes, and even events that meet us from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of these knots, and and they can be really difficult. Freud and Jung said they come from our childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and those people in the East, they call them samskaras or shankaras or kleshas. They say they might be there much longer. They're there through lifetimes. And
Mm-hmm.
whoever knows, maybe we don't have to know how, from where, but maybe it's good to know that they're very old. And
Mm-hmm.
there are these patterns that repeat themselves, like my LERP, one of them is around abandonment, because
Mm-hmm.
my mother hid me in a children's home for the first 2 years of my life. She
Mm-hmm.
was a Catholic family, scared, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's good. And so no wonder I have a wound around abandonment, or not being recognized, or not being seen or heard,
Mm-hmm.
being rejected. And so it's interesting, when we have this very old wound, then often those kinds of things happen again to us. And it's not clear if it's just in our head or if it's actually happening. I think it's both. It's inside and outside.
Mm-hmm.
And um, we recognize when we have gotten, I call it LERPed, by feeling funny in our bodies, maybe a tightness in the chest, or like a knock in the stomach, or hot or cold, or maybe an emotion that feels stronger than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I react like this? And then there are ruminations. We might wake up at night and think, or we can't fall asleep, or we wake up too early. And we might have nightmares or images coming up. So all of those symptoms happen together.
Okay.
And so that's good to recognize. It's important to recognize because then we don't feel so crazy. We know what's going on and then we can deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, so based on everything that I heard you say, you're really dealing with healing any type of mental instability that one may have. And we all have them because none of us are perfect. Like the old wounds that you were talking about. So how does the current climate that we're living in between, the war, the COVID, the elections coming up in the United States. I was telling someone recently that I heard Donald Trump's voice the other day and I just went like into a tailspin. So how can we utilize what you practice to help us get past those triggers that we're currently experiencing?
You know, first I wanted to say you're right that these old lerps that we have, these old wounds, mental, and they're not just mental instabilities, they're also heart instabilities and
Mm-hmm.
physical instabilities, these all around knots. Um, to recognize that we have them, that really helps, because otherwise we get on our case, we doubt ourselves that this is happening, we might be critical with ourselves. Why do I overreact? Or maybe doubtful, is this really happening or am I just making this up? So I think actually noticing and recognizing it, and I
Mm-hmm.
have there 12 different steps on how to recognize a lerp. It's helpful. But then when we see, and it can be stark. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I hadn't looked. And so I think then what we need is a lot of self empathy or self compassion. It's like, oh, yeah, this is actually hard to look at. But on
Mm-hmm.
the other hand, drinking whiskey every day or being 10 hours on our cell phone has bad consequences too.
Mm-hmm.
So we might as well look.
Yeah, might
And
as yeah.
you know what I mean? Because those things we do to distract ourselves or not to look can often be painful too.
Yes. Yeah, well,
You know,
you mentioned the 12 steps, the 12 indicators. The first indicator is exaggerated body symptoms. So talk to us about that a little bit. And just as the first step, because I think sometimes we're so numb that we don't even recognize that we're in a certain state. I remember once going to a masseuse to get a massage, and I was so tense, and the massage felt so good. I had to tell myself to relax. I was all tensed up on the massage table. So how do we figure out, the exaggerated body symptoms that are the first step?
well, and tension or numbness is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you realize you're lying on the massage table and you're just one big knot or
Mm-hmm.
many little knots, that's one sign. So not feeling is in a way a feeling too.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when we have been traumatized, and that's one thing at the core of a lerp is trauma. When we have been traumatized, there is often either an exaggerated feeling or no feeling at all, like a numbness.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's important to notice that we are numb. Otherwise we
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so if you're not aware, you can't fix it, right?
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, in your book, you talk about this, I call wonderful man. His name is Jimmy, and he goes through ups and downs and ins and outs, and he comes out okay. Could you kind of recap Jimmy's story for the audience so they can get an idea of the different lurps that one can go through and then what he did to help himself?
Yeah. Jimmy is an amazing man and he's still a good friend of mine and he gave me full permission to tell his story.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he loved to tell his story. He still lives in a home for the settled homeless in Santa Barbara and he loves visitors.
Mm-hmm.
So he is completely out there. Jimmy grew up, I think, on the East Coast. His dad had been, before he got married, a monk, a
Mm-hmm.
Catholic monk, and then he left and what became a professor, and his mother was his student, how it happens, right? Professor and student. And then they got married and had 4 kids. But it was the 60s, and they came out of repression. And Jimmy's mother basically went wild. She became a big social activist. She had many affairs, a very women's lib, and the ex-monk, divorced her and got custody of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy one day left to find his mother, and he found her 3 days dead in a bathtub.
Oh man.
She had killed herself, and the police came, and he basically was frozen. Like, talk about numb.
Mm-hmm.
They had to screw off the toilet seat because he was holding on. He was holding on. And then Jimmy was 12. He became a little vagabond. He left home. He thought his dad was at fault. And he lived on trains, on top of trains. He became very early, at 16, 17, a heroin addict. And lived in the streets and brought home now and then, but left right away again, ran away. And so that was his life.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad tried to rehabilitate him. He actually finished high school finally at 23 and went for a year or so to Sarah Lawrence, which is a college where he ran away. And so he had a very colorful and traumatic life as a very free spirit. He went to India and stayed there about 10 years and met some of the sages. He had always a spiritual longing, but then always came back to drugs, unfortunately, until one day he met Joseph Goldstein, who is the founder of IMS, Insight Meditation Society, America's oldest Vipassana Theravadan meditation center in Barre, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
And, and they became friends. And Joseph really took Jimmy in. And actually, Jimmy lived for 5 years in IMS, Insight Meditation Center. Had a few bouts of leaving and going back to drugs and restarting again.
Mm-hmm.
And but they became lifelong friends. Joseph Goldstein is amazing. He really put his hand into the fire for Jimmy, and now Jimmy goes for 3 months a year to meditate at IMS.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Joseph sponsors his fare and his stay there, and and as far as I know, Jimmy is going to every meditation retreat he can go for free. I myself brought him to a few of them. Jack Cornfield lets him stay for free, and I think he actually ordained as a Tibetan monk.
Hmm.
And so he is kind of a, yeah, he walks around in his robes, even though he lives in his little housing room.
Mm-hmm.
And he works tirelessly for others, especially now during COVID. Jimmy has a special ministry to sit with those who are dying, and especially dying homeless people. And
Uh-huh.
he's like day and night helping, especially Santa Barbara, Ala Vista. There are a lot of them, and he is just helping people around the clock. And those who love Jimmy help him by now and then getting him a new phone. Now he needs a new phone. He needs new teeth. So if anybody likes to sponsor Jimmy, I put a plug in for Jimmy
Mm-hmm.
because we all are kind of supporting him. So if any reader likes to sponsor Jimmy, please let me know. He
Okay.
needs new teeth,
Okay.
but he is tirelessly helping people, and you know, he's amazing because he really walks the walk and talks the talk. um, I think his body, even though he's not that old, he's 65 or 66, is a
Mm-hmm.
bit rattled from all the drugs he had taken in his life. He
Yeah.
can't see very much, he's almost blind, so he's on disability. But he
Mm-hmm.
is one of the wisest people I ever know, and he's a true bodhisattva.
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and I think meditation really helped him. Self-compassion has helped him a lot because he had a lot of self-loathing
Mm-hmm.
about all the things he had done in his life. So
Mm-hmm.
self-compassion is important. And then, you know, when he has flashbacks or nightmares or gets into moods, to stay with his pain, breathing through really has helped him. Then I think what I talk about, meeting the mystery, awake awareness, really helps Jimmy. I think that's why he loves to go on retreat
Mm-hmm.
and to meditate, to have something bigger than our human condition that helps him through all these difficult times. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would say, lastly, what really helps Jimmy is service. You know, he's like in constant service of others.
Mm.
And I would say service is an important help if we are working with our own wounds, because it helps us to not get stuck in self preoccupation. It
Mm-hmm.
helps us to feel that our pain is actually worthwhile and meaningful, and that we can help others,
Mm-hmm.
that we have become more wise, maybe, and more compassionate through our own pain. You know, we walk the walk and talk the talk. And I think it gives us a sense of self efficacy and meaning. You know, it gives our suffering some meaning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's interesting that you said that, Jimmy, he goes to meditation, he gets all these free courses and everything. However, he gives back. So there's an equal exchange of energy. And so he's not just sitting back saying, pour me, give me, give me. He's allowing to receive, but then he's turning around and giving back in a way that is meaningful for him and the people around him. And to be a death doula for the homeless, I mean, that is way important, because, some homeless people, they die without anyone there or anyone that
Yeah,
cares. Yeah.
I think you captured that really well, and I think that keeps him going
Yeah.
and makes him really such an amazing, valuable person.
Yes. That's his value. That's what he's bringing. That's the way that he's changing the world, folks. Now, Radhule, you have two websites. The first one I want to talk about is Radhule Weininger, Ph.D.com. What will people find there besides your current book?
Well, I'm a clinical psychologist and meditation teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a schedule if people want to join. All my meditation teachings and myself and a few other teachers are free. So you
Mm-hmm.
can easily just join us. So please do. There's no commitment necessary. We realize life is too hard. We need easy access.
Mm-hmm.
And also, sometimes we give seminars, and I give seminars. I teach in the summer in July, 8 to 10 at Omega Institute, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm right now here in Esselen, talking with Esselen to teach here.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that is available. And also my first book, it's called Hard Work, The Path of Self-Compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also with Shambhala. It's also available on this website. And it just shows what I offer. Then there is this other website because when was that? About 5, 6 years ago, we started a nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
to be able to give our meditations for free and to get scholarships when we give a mindfulness and compassion facilitator program.
Mm-hmm.
And that is mindfulheartprograms.org. It's one word with an S in the end, programs.org, mindfulheartprograms.org.
Mm-hmm.
And it has all our offerings of our little nonprofit, which is most still online. We have one offering now in Santa Barbara in person, hybrid, because we don't want to lose, and we still want to serve the people who came all through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are
Okay.
the two websites.
Well, that is absolutely fabulous. Our time has gone so quickly. Why don't you share a pearl of wisdom with our audience before we part company today?
Well, one pearl of wisdom is that besides all our psychological learning, I think the spiritual learning is incredibly important. And spiritual learning in terms of, let's say, mindfulness or whatever meditation you do, but to also allow the what Jung called the numinous, the great mystery in,
Mm-hmm.
or in Tibetan language they call it the awake awareness, or the more, and to get access to that,
Mm-hmm.
because there is help there, not from a person but from a co-rising force. We don't know what it is. That's why it's called the great mystery.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tangibly there and can be touched with direct experience with our practice.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, folks, we've been speaking with Dr. Rajuli Weininger. Her latest book is Heart Medicine. If you feel drawn to it, please go get it because it is going to help you shift your energy, which in turn will help you change your life. And you can get out of any fear or negative lower vibration that you find yourself in. Rajuli, thank you so much for being with me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Monique. That was
You're
really fantastic.
Thank you. And to the audience, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time, your attention, and I'm truly honored that you listen in. And please remember that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of discovering your heart medicine. Abundant blessings, light and love to all. Agape.